Good evening, fans. When we last checked in on the San Juan Zephyrs, it was trade deadline day, and we were stocking up, hoping to accomplish a couple of things. One was to avoid relegation back to the Premier Baseball League, and the other was to potentially make the playoffs. At that point, we were sitting at 46 and 59. So below 500, but the sixth and final playoff spot in the National League was within reach. And so we were looking at, could we avoid relegation? And could we make the playoffs? And I guess I'm sitting here telling you guys, maybe we did both. All right, let me share my screen. This is your playoff tree. I want you to take a look at the National League side, and you'll see a big Z over there with a round one matchup against the St. Louis Cardinals. That's right, your San Juan Zephyrs, after loading up at the trade deadline, went 26-19 down the stretch. We are the first Premier Baseball League team ever to make the Major League playoffs. So not only do we avoid relegation, and I'll show you who was relegated and who's getting promoted, but we'll also have a 3-game series, a best of 3, coming up against the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, it won't be easy. Let's take a look at that, and then we'll dive into everything else there is to update you on for the end of the season. But first of all, let's just take a look at what we have ahead of us. So the way the playoffs work is in the first round, in the 3-game series, it starts off at the away team. I'm sorry, the lower seed is home. And then you go and play at the higher seeds stadium for 2 games. So the Zephyrs will actually open up the series at home. The only game of the series in San Juan will be with Alex Reyes on the mound for St. Louis. And we really need to win that game because it's at home. And then take a look at what happens after that. We get back-to-back. We get DeGrom and Flaherty to face as pitchers for the Cardinals. So let's take a look at the standings here real quick. And I want to show you something interesting that happened in the standings. Now, I need to fix this, but for now, rules are rules. This is interesting. I told you guys there was some things in the schedule that were a little off after splitting it into 2 just 15-team leagues. So the Washington Nationals finished right below the Zephyrs, and they had 73 wins, so one more than the Zephyrs with 72, but they had 80 losses and only 78 for the Zephyrs because they played 3 more games. So the season ended for the Zephyrs, and they were in 7th place. And the Nationals had a 3-game series left. All they had to do was win one of the games, and they were fine. And the Zephyrs even ended the season on a 2-game losing streak. But the Nationals lost all 3 games of that series. So they finished with a 5-game losing streak. They went 2-8 down the stretch. And the Zephyrs beat them out for that final playoff spot. I just want to take a look at what happened to these guys for them to not make the playoffs. So here we are, September. So they were facing the Padres. So, and they lost 3-2 this game. They also lost this game 3-2 in 10 innings. It'd be great if maybe Manny hit some home runs for San Diego. Looks like Tatis Jr. Broke the game open there in the 7th. So anyway, the Nats are out, and the Zephyrs are in. And I'll get into kind of how we did that and who was playing well there down the stretch. I want to thank GM Pat for stopping by. Yeah, go Zephs. And he also wants to know how they got DeGrom. Let's look into that right now. Let's go check that out. So I feel like he was a free agent. And if you didn't catch it back at the start of the season, when I restructured the playoffs, I restructured the leagues. So it got rid of divisions. So it's just 15 and 15. And it just makes it easier with promotion and relegation. I'll probably expand the league so we have an even 16 in each side. And that way, it's 8 and 8 and nobody has any scheduling issues and everybody should play the same number of games. So it should be then even numbers in terms of, one team not having to be off while everybody else plays. So that means the Dodgers and the Padres have a first round bye. Same thing over here with the Indians and the Athletics. And yeah, take a look at this. The Diamondbacks are headed back or headed down for the first time to the PBL, and Columbus is headed back. And then over here we have Nashville and Quebec, the two teams that were just promoted. But look how close the Red Sox came to being relegated, which would have just been an amazing story. And I'm sure their fans would have been as thrilled as Philadelphia fans were when that team was relegated. But just barely did they stay in Major League Baseball. So GM Pat had a comment there. He asked about how DeGrom got on the team. I felt like he was a free agent. Yeah, he signed a 4-year contract for $99 million and change. So that's how he had rejected the Mets qualifying offer and became a free agent just before this season. And then I'll show you guys what's happening down in the Premier Baseball League so you can see who's coming up. So we've got Toronto, Memphis. So not all the major league teams are coming back up. Texas and Pittsburgh, and then just barely out of the promotion picture, the Cincinnati Reds. So they're going to have to play a second consecutive season down in the PBL. And that means we'll have them down there and then Arizona as well. So instead of our usual kind of 4-4 trading back and forth, where it seems like major league teams would get sent down and then right back up, for the first time, we actually have some PBL teams staying. One. That's us, San Juan. And then we have the Reds not coming back up. So Memphis will be up with us as a PBL team. And then we've remained up and been the first PBL team, not only to make the playoffs, but the first team to be promoted and then not be immediately relegated again. So lots of history happening right now with your San Juan Zephyrs. Now, I'll show you what's been going on with the team. And there have been some good stories. And hey, Alex, thanks for stopping by to check in on the Zephyrs. Exciting times, exciting times. Not only have we avoided being relegated, but we are in the playoffs. So we have a best of 3 coming up against St. Louis. It's going to be a tough series, but I'm excited just to have some postseason baseball for the first time ever in San Juan. So let's look at the team. Now, if you guys were around for the trade deadline update, I went out and got a few guys because the offense wasn't cutting it. So, for example, Sano was a guy we picked up prior to the trade deadline, and he's been good for us. We also got Urshela, and I've been very pleased with his performance so far for the Zeffs. Actually, you know what? I'm not pleased with him. I confused my players. He's been okay, but not what I was hoping for when he came over in 39 games. Let me head over here to the lineups. I'll show you some other some other moves here. So Santa was another guy we brought in, and he was the one who had a really nice OPS of 135 with us in 53 games, put up 1.1 WAR, and was good to have another bat, 16 home runs, 40 RBIs, because we were really hurting on offense. And then I guess the real story here too was the way some of the young guys came up and pitched, especially. So Bryce Jarvis is one. He's a prospect. I talked about at the beginning of the season. He came up and got some starts in for the team. Ortiz came up and looked real good. He'll be in the bullpen for the playoffs, but you can check out his numbers here. He pitched in 6 games for us. We had an injury in the bullpen here. I'll just show you guys the injured list real quick. So Severino's still out for 3 more months. We've been without him for a large chunk of the season now. And Kimbrel joined him on the DL. He has a torn rotator cuff. He's out 7 months. He has a player option in his contract. I'm not sure what's going to happen with him after the season. If he's going to exercise that option, and once he comes back, what he's going to look like at 35 years old, coming off a torn rotator cuff. Pomerantz was another guy that went down. So that didn't help either in the bullpen, although he wasn't fantastic for us. So neither was Kimbrel. Neither of those guys were huge losses, but it's good that we went out and got some depth. So we got Diaz before the season started. Bork was a guy we picked up at the trade deadline, and he's come in and been very helpful, pitching in 15 games. Check out the numbers by him. Definitely glad I made that move. Chalmers is another guy who had been up and down, and he ended up coming up toward the end of the season and pitched well, got a couple starts in, and was pitching out of the bullpen. And then I'll show you, we actually have a couple guys who came up, one in particular, who were not eligible for postseason play because I called them up when rosters expanded. And I guess if I knew I was going to make the playoffs, it would have been good to have them. But I got to find our big prospect here. Hang on one second. It's easier to get to him this way. So Zach Veen was down in AAA, and I didn't know if I should bring him up yet. Anyway, I ended up, when rosters expanded, I called him up, and you can see what he did here in just 7 games. Home run, 6 RBIs, batted .333, 174 OPS plus, put up .3 WAR. So I'm definitely looking forward to having this guy at one of the corner outfield positions next season. I figure we'll have Margot in center field, and then we'll have Veen in one corner and Torque in the other corner. And I just got to look at that again. And whoever has the stronger arm will probably go in right field. So, oh yeah, Pat wants me to take the comments off the bottom. It's blocking some stats. My apologies. If you need me to go back and look at any stats, just let me know. So the next stream I do will be the playoffs. So I'm definitely going to stream game 1, and it's only a 3-game season. So what I'm hoping to do is just do one stream, and hey, maybe we knock them off in 2 games and move on to the next round. I'm just excited this team's in the playoffs because my main objective was just don't get relegated. And, for us to go 26-19 after the trade deadline and squeak into that last playoff position was awesome. I have started to think about two things. I've started to think about who's going to be on my playoff roster. And then I've also just started to think about what next season might look like. So, I've got a few guys who, it's mostly some pitchers I had to make some decisions on. I think I've got it pretty well together at this point. There's a couple guys on offense, who I won't have up. I mean, these two are kind of no-brainers. These guys spent most of the season in AAA. Peraza was a guy I was kind of thinking about what to do with him. He didn't have a great season at times when he was up with me on the big club, and so you can see his numbers there. I ended up sending him down to AAA. I can't remember if this originally happened because he got injured and I was rehabbing him, or if I just sent him down at some point. But I mean, he's only 23, and I really like his ratings a lot. And so next season, I'm actually thinking, since I've got some pretty good middle infielders, that in spring training I might force play him at third base a bit. He has the arm for it, and it might be a way for him to get some more at-bats next season. And so that means either he could be starting at third, or he might end up, winning the second base job, I suppose. But it just lets me get him more at-bats. So I'll probably try to get him some third base time next season too. But I don't think I'm going to have him on the postseason roster. I've got some other guys. I mean, here's another guy who just, his defense is great. I was thinking about flip-flopping these two because he has no bat whatsoever. So this is probably the switch I'm going to make that I've been debating, because as you can see, Leon's only 22, and his offensive numbers are really, really rough. But his glove is fantastic. So I love his range and his ability to play either short or second. And I've even, when he was down in AAA, I threw him in at third base for a little bit just to try to get a little more versatility there with him as a defensive replacement, mostly for people. So I'm just kind of messing around with those little things on the playoff roster. But yeah, and I don't know, I could go either way on this. It's nice to have the better bat, but also, there's not a huge difference in their glove, I guess. But Leon's glove is, on another level, and I don't know. I kind of like having that guy to bring in. So we'll see. And then, yeah, these two guys, Kim and Cato, I'll probably leave them down. Cato's a guy I brought in as an international free agent in the offseason, and he didn't do much. Kim was a guy I got in a trade and did okay, but just didn't light it up. And his defense isn't as good as Leon's. His bat's not as good as Peraza. And then the other guys are just pitching decisions. So in terms of who will have throwing, Luis Castillo is a guy who I got as an international free agent. Brought him in on a minor league free agent contract a couple seasons ago, and he ended up having a really good season. Put up 3.6 WAR. ZRA plus was 118. He was injured for a little while, but he still got 28 starts in, and he's a ground ball pitcher. So he, I have to check his rest. I think he was ready to roll. Yeah, 100% rested. So he'll be the game one starter. And then we'll probably see Lewis Thorpe and Jordan Montgomery. Montgomery had a really good season. And you can see his numbers here. And better than I expected. He was a third starting pitcher I signed in the offseason, along with Severino, and I don't even remember who my other guy was that I signed, and they were kind of my big three pitchers that I was hoping to bring in. I don't think it was Hoffman, because I think I got him in a trade later in the season. But Montgomery did really well, but now he wants a ton of money to stick around. So if you look at his contract, I brought him in for $1.1 million, and he's 30 years old, and now he wants $13 million a year. So I got to think about that for a second. It's not a ton of money. And, then he's done by the time he's 33, but still, I'm not quite sure if I want to, I'm not the Yankees. I got to be careful with my dollars. So we got some comments here. Pretty good for a round 17 pick. Who was that? GM Pat. I don't know who, who you were referring to. But yeah, no, this guy Castillo that you saw on my roster is not the guy that you've had in fake Oreos, fake Orioles, or Oreos, fake Oreos if you prefer those instead of the real kind. Yeah, Leon is a real good glove for a 17th round pick. He was or still is, I think, currently a real life Orioles prospect. Let me go to him for a second. So, yeah, he was traded by the Astros to the Orioles for international bonus pool money in real life in 2018. And then he was a 17th round pick in the expansion draft, or the not expansion draft, but the free agent draft when the Premier Baseball League was created, where the teams just had to pick from any unsigned professional baseball player. So the Zephyrs got him. At the time, I was not their GM for that first season. They were running themselves. The AI was in charge, and they picked him up. Yeah, pretty sweet 17th round pickup. He ended up being named the number 2 prospect in the league. That also tells you how thin the PBL was, and actually still is. Yeah, no, not the real draft. He was a guy who came over in the draft that created the league. So a couple of things. If anybody watching this wants to set up promotion and relegation in their own out of the park baseball sim, I have a video where I walked through how it's done. And if you check that out on my channel, it'll walk you through everything you need to do to get it set up, including creating an association between that league and Major League Baseball so that they share one draft, they share a Rule 5, and they're all playing under the same set of rules. So that's one of the things that's good to do when you go ahead and set it up. And also, if anybody checking this out has not subscribed, please do. I am at 97 subscribers, so I'm 3 away from the magic number where I get to get my custom URL. So if you have not subscribed, I'd appreciate you doing that and help me get across that that milestone there, so that I can get a custom URL for this channel. Any other questions on the Zephyrs? Or on anything at all? I can dive into some other stuff. I was just going to take you guys over to some of the league leaders in both the leagues, the majors and the PBL. But if anybody has any questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat, and I'll get into those. But let's start here in the standings. One of the things I was really interested to see, I think we talked about this on one of the streams, was with the Blue Jays down there. We're interested to see what Vlad could do down in the PBL. And I'll scroll down so you can see his stats. And, you know, he didn't disappoint. 8.3 WAR, 187 OPS plus. He batted 375, 35 homers, 106 RBIs in 150 games. So not a bad season for him. I'm sure he's very excited to get back up to the majors as they've been promoted again. And, oh yeah, Trey Turner, by the way, I don't know if we covered this, is in Havana. So he signed with, he was a free agent signing with a PBL team, and he led the league in stolen bases this year with 33, put up 4.1 more. And then I haven't really looked myself at the pitching. Wow, Clevenger is down here. I don't know, maybe he went as a free agent to Louisville. Yeah. Put up 7.9 WAR. Not a bad season for him. Who was the top pitcher? What category was that? I think I just looked at ERA. Oh, okay, so we had a Blue Jay on here, Perez. He had a pretty good season down on the PBL as well. Thanks, PW. Yeah, let me know what you think. If you have any questions, just throw a comment in the tutorial video. I did run into some things that were a little strange when I set it up, or as I started to play it. So the draft was a little funny, where for some reason there seemed to be a glitch, and it didn't come back, I think, the next season. But I had some problems with getting the draft to work right, where when I would go to look at a player's profile in the draft and come back, it wouldn't be my pick anymore. So I had to kind of use the back button and do that. That seemed to be one thing that was a little strange. And I'm assuming it had something to do with the way I had the league set up, with the association and the promotion and relegation relationship between the PBL and Major League Baseball. Also, the scheduling has been a little bit of an issue. And then just trying to figure out, I have it set up so that 2 teams in the AL that finished at the bottom of the standings and 2 teams from the NL that finished at the bottom get sent down each season, and then 4 come up from the Premier Baseball League. So one of the things that I had to figure out when it was still set up as divisions is kind of what division to put people in. And it's just much easier now this season with just the 15 and 15 in each league, no more divisions. But then what I ran into this season was the scheduling issue, and it was too late. Was past the point that I could change the schedule when I noticed that not every team was playing the same number of games. So like you saw, the Nationals played 3 more games than the Zephyrs. So I'm going to try to fix that this offseason by adding a couple of teams to Major League Baseball, 1 to each league, so that we have 16 and 16. And then the PBL only has 15 teams, so I'll probably expand that by 1 to even out the schedule there. I don't know if I'll do it all at once, because that's adding 3 expansion teams would dilute the talent pool quite a bit all at once. So I have to figure it out. I definitely like to get at least the majors expanded as we go into next season. So these are all the tough decisions I have to make as commissioner of this baseball league, which I do on the side while also trying to run the San Juan Zephyrs. So it keeps me pretty busy. Anyway, thanks for checking that out, PW. So we'll roll over here to the majors. Now, one thing to keep in mind is if you look at these numbers, is these guys aren't playing 162 games. So it was like 150 teams played, and then a little over 150. I think they played either 150 or 153, depending on if they ended up with that extra series. So Trout had a pretty good season. Alvarez for Houston had a real good season. So yeah, 8.3 WAR. Dude batted .324, hit 53 homers. This was in 147 games. He had a monster season in the majors, not in the PBL. And then let's take a look. Who was killing it back? Oh, yeah. Bellinger was. This is interesting. I don't know if you guys caught that. Let's look at his stats real quick, and then I'll go back and show you guys something with him. So 10.1 WAR, 146 games. He batted .321, 61 homers, 149 RBIs. So he won the Triple Crown. Batting average, home runs, RBI leader. So solid season there. Also, fake Orioles legend Dylan Carlson is somebody we have to be worried about going into this series with the Zephyrs against the Cardinals. He's been putting up solid numbers for the Cardinals for, I think, just 3 seasons now. Let's see when exactly he's only 24. When did he get called up? So, okay, so he was up the year he turned 21 and played 24 games then and was good in a short a small number of games there. But then he's just had 3 really good seasons in a row. And this one was his best. 179 OPS plus, 42 home runs. He's definitely a guy we need to worry about when we play St. Louis. And I'm going to jump into their lineup real quick. I'm trying to remember who else we have to face there. So, yeah, I think they signed J.D. Martinez as a free agent. He's been their DH. He was a free agent. He signed with them for another season after this. Conforto's in the outfield there. That's a lot of money for him. I feel like $22 million. I don't know. So they have a solid lineup, solid pitchers, solid lineup. They've got Jordan Hicks at the back of their bullpen. And so this is a really good team we're going to be facing. But I feel like maybe the Zephyrs have some magic in them. We'll see what happens. So yeah, I'll try to let you guys know in advance if I can by posting the stream ahead of time as an upcoming stream on my channel when I get ready to stream the playoffs. Hoping to do that here in the next couple of days, but we have to see how things go. And if I can, I'll just stream the whole series since it's only a best of 3. And let's take a look at the playoff tree for the other side too. So you've got the Indians and the A's. The A's over there who have the first round bye. So then you've got in round 1, the best of 3 is the Rays and the Angels. So we got Mike Trout in the playoffs again. And we've got Yankees in Houston. So those are really good games. Like I would love to watch either of those series, Rays, Angels, or Yankees, Astros. And then it's real interesting to me that the A's have a bye. And I have it set to reseed after each round. So it doesn't necessarily mean the winner of Yankees Houston will get the A's. Whoever was the better of these 2 teams, the A's or the Indians, will face the lower seed coming out of this round. And yeah, PW, are you doing the best of 3 all in the higher seeds park? No, I have it set up so that the very first game is at the lower seeds park, and then we go and play 2 games at the higher seeds park. So I wanted to set it up since I expanded the playoffs a little bit here. I wanted to set it up so that we didn't have the season go too late. It does help that we had a shorter season and didn't do a full 162. I don't know if I'll keep it that way, but so we're starting here in late September. But I do have it set up so there's no days off. So we play at the away park, or at the lower seeds park. So we'll play that game in San Juan, and then everybody hops on a plane and they go to St. Louis for back-to-back game 2 and 3, 3 if necessary. Let's hope the Zephyrs finish them off in game 2 in St. Louis, and we don't even have to play 2 there. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I just didn't, I set it up that way so that we don't have too much November baseball basically. And on the other side of things, over on the Zephyrs side of the bracket, the Dodgers and the Padres get the bye. We play St. Louis, and then we've got Braves Cubs as the other series, and then everybody will be reseeded going into the next round to figure out who plays the Dodgers, who plays the Padres. So that's about it. Unless anybody else has any questions, wants to take a look at any other stats here, I'm going to go ahead and sign off and just ask you guys to start getting pumped up for the playoffs. We got the Zephyrs in it for the first time ever. Again, big moment in history here. GM Pat had a point here. Tampa to LA with a good no day off series too. Yeah, that'll be a good one when those guys. Who is the higher seed there? Where's that start? So they'll be in Tampa, and then they'll fly out to, let me put it on the screen here. So yeah, the game one will be in Tampa on the 26th, and then they'll head straight to LA for games on Wednesday and Thursday. So I feel like after this first season of it, I might be hearing from the Players Association to perhaps renegotiate how the playoffs work, because I don't know if this is going to work for everybody. But like I said at the beginning of the broadcast, when we talked about how the Zephyrs squeaked into the playoffs, rules are rules for right now. And this is the way it is. Everybody's going to have to suck it up and just make the best of it. Hang on a second, though. What's going on here in Tampa? I just noticed something. Why do they have Snell as their closer right now? Was that the case in the regular season? No. He started 31 games. But right now that's where they have him for the playoffs. What are they going to do? Use him as a stopper? I don't know. I mean, that's great to have him coming out to shut things down, I guess, but I kind of would want him in my starting rotation. Yeah, I'm not quite getting that one, but we'll see how it goes. Who's managing things there right now? Kevin Cash. How's he done for them? So they haven't really had any bad seasons in this sim with him in there. They won 92 games one season, made the playoffs. Then they missed the playoffs, but still had a pretty decent record. Made the playoffs in 22, and then have made the playoffs again here in 23 with a team that's not quite as, their record wasn't quite as good. In fact, their record in 23 when they made the playoffs was worse than their record was in 21 when they didn't make the playoffs. So I don't know. He's got some strange decisions going on there for how he's going to work his pitching staff. So thanks again for tuning in. I'll keep you guys posted. Keep an eye on my channel for when I'm going to do the live stream, hopefully in the next couple of days of the playoff game. Please hit subscribe if you haven't already, and click a thumbs up on this video. Throw some comments in there. And if you have any questions or anything about the Zephyrs, I'll try to answer those before we start the first ever playoff game live from San Juan. Hope to see you guys there. Thanks for checking this out.